Welcome to another class of communication. Today we'll talk about manual mode of photography. So in our mobile phone or generally when we go for any photography, we usually use auto mode of photography because simply you just have to frame and click the picture. But manual photography has its own advantages. Today we'll discuss about it, why it is important, because you have complete control over photography. The photography is the story I feel to put into the world. So whatever we feel, whatever emotion develop after watching a location or any event, that we try to manifest in the form of photographs. So when you talk about manual mode of photography, we have to discuss what is how we could control different things. Mostly there are three different things. One is shutter speed, aperture, and ISO. So this is different parts of camera. This is sensor. These are the lens which help us to uh, help light be in a focus. And this is a mirror, and this is a pentaprism, and this is viewfinder where you could see the things. uh, why we need to do manual photography? Manual mode of setting work together to control uh, how bright or dark your photo is, known as exposure, as well as change the overall look of your image. So the best exposure you could get, it's not to be too dark or too more exposed, it should be well exposed. So this is the exposure triangle. It means we have to use three different aspects, three different factors: ISO, shutter speed, and aperture. Then only you could get the right exposure. When you increase ISO, it means brightness will be increased, sensor sensitivity of sensor will be increased. Similarly, when we increase the shutter speed, more amount of light enter into our camera and it will become more brighter. Similarly, the aperture means the window to the camera, the amount of light when is uh, small aperture, less light will enter into our camera. When is large aperture, more light will enter into our camera. So you have to manage all these three things to get right picture. So aperture, here you could see, when we have wider aperture, we'll get shallow depth of field, and when we have small aperture, we'll get depth of field will be large. Similarly, all these three elements have its impact. Here you could see the depth of field is increased when the size of aperture increase, but the number is less. Means 1.4 means large amount of light will enter into our camera and shallow depth of field will get. Similarly, shutter speed. Here you could see that in two picture you could see 1 by 100 per second shutter speed. When we'll get when we want to freeze the image, we have to increase the shutter speed. When we want to show the motion, here you could see the car get blurred because of less shutter speed. So this is the impact of shutter speed. So when you increase the speed, we will get blur image. When we decrease the speed, we will get blur image. When we increase the speed, we will fix the motion. Then another important factor is ISO. It means sensitivity of our lens. We are in a dark condition, we could increase the sensitivity so that low light we could capture. In the low light condition, we could capture the image, but it has also some negative impact. For example, when we increase the ISO, we will find graininess in image uh, or in your picture. So exposure triangle means we have to combine the three things: ISO, shutter speed, and aperture, and we have to get the right exposure. Okay, so we have to understand how we could use these three things we have to practically do the things, and we try to understand how we could get right picture. This is the small introduction to manual photography. What is the ISO, shutter speed, and aperture? How you could use it? That is basically you could call it manual photography. But not manual photography is not limited to this. Lot of things we have to consider: light, situations, condition, that you have to consider for manual photography. Thank you. Have a nice day.